Greetings all our dear viewers. My name is Jimmy Hanks and I'm happy to be back on your screens with the latest show coming from the Holy Drive. Yeah, I've been having a lot of questions. Jimmy, where have you been? You've been lost, no longer see you on TV. I've not been well. I got an accident a few months ago and I've been down, but I thank God that He spared my life. I almost lost it. I was hit by a trailer, but still God gave me a second chance to live. And I'm happy that I'm back on the Holy Drive show when I'm looking better and when I'm much stronger. I really thank God for sparing my life. I want to really appreciate in a special way all the people that have been there for me, my family, my friends, my church friends, like everyone that has really been there in this time when I've been sick. And really God bless you abundantly. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be hosting an amazing gentleman, a man that has walked a journey of faith, a man that has come from grace to grace. He has defied all the odds, all the way from the hills of Kabale, Kigezi. I want to be knowing how has he been able to make it in life? How has God been part of his story? Once again, my name is Jimmy Hanks. I'll take a small break and I'll be right back with a professor. We'll be back from that small break. This shall be airing in 2 episodes. We shall have episode 1 and episode 2. So don't miss out on any of the 2. The man I have for you is an international consultant on economic transformation. Welcome, Professor Nuwagaba.
Thank you very much, and good evening, good morning, our viewers, depending on where you are.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Yes, we're happy to have you on this show, Professor. How have you been lately? How is life?
Thank you. We have been surviving by grace of God.
How are the people in Kigezi?
Yeah, well, thank you. Our viewers, my name is Nuwagaba Augustus, as you have been told, and I'm a teacher.
Yes.
By profession. I've been at Makerere for the last almost 30 years.
Wow.
And I have been a businessman as well. For me, I sell knowledge. I don't sell merchandise that I have iron bars in the shop and cement, which I sell. I just sell knowledge.
True.
And that's what God has graced some of us with. I'm also a farmer. I grow maize, I grow beans, I have coffee, I have matoke. I'm actually a very serious matoke farmer. And here in Mitiana,
yeah, wow.
And God has been good, because for us there we have rain throughout, so we have not been lacking food at all.
True.
So I'm born in Kabale.
Yes.
And of course Kabale, you know, is not an easy place.
Yeah, mountainous,
the terrain, we don't have land, so we must look for where with those to be able to put food on the table. And the way we were grown up, of course, is not easy at all. It is very difficult to grow up in Kabale, because first of all, the resources are not there. So resources are limited, but the only thing that has sustained us for us in Kabale is that you know that very well, that Kabale is the land of what? Of East African Revival Movement.
Yes.
It's a land of the Barokole movement. It is a land which, in my view, and normally when I'm discussing with my brothers, Professor Kagonyera, Professor Suruma, Professor Governor Mutebire, rest in peace. Yeah. And by the way, people should applaud us, because most of the, when you look at professors in Uganda,
by the
way, I'm not mistaken, if I'm really not mistaken, you may find over 60% of the professors come from Kabale.
But I don't know why, by the way. Talk about
that,
it.
I think that is a blessing. It has been a blessing, and may I explain that also we don't know how it is. But obviously it cannot be by instinct. I know very well that our mothers were able to and our parents were able to, first of all, socialize us. You know, socialization is very important. The way you are brought up in a home is very, very important, and it plays almost 90% of what you are going to be. Most of us are really products of socialization, the way we are brought up. We are brought up in really good homes. This one I can testify. We are brought up in homes of the revivalists. So I can tell you a good person. Yeah, I can tell you a person with humane. You can tell a person who loves humanity. You can tell a person who has goodwill, who has humanism. Kabale is really an epitome of good people. And if you want what good person means, what a good person means, that's you go to Kabale and see the homes of East African Revival Movement. And those are the kinds of homes we are brought into, the relatives, the friends, the neighbors, and we really thank God for that.
Amen, amen. And we are proud of you. It's really good having sons from your place who have really merged out of the many. Having more than 3 professors from the same region, not something small. I hope also other regions have picked a leaf from the Kigezi professors. Yeah. So, Professor, how was life back then growing up in the hills of Kabale? A young little boy, I know by then even the conditions were not even favorable the way they are today. How was life?
Because Kabale is first of all, the district is one of the most heavily populated. 2, the area is not all that resourceful. The resources in Kabale, what are the resources in Kabale? There's no land.
True.
Our gardens are not, it is very hard to find anybody in Kabale, any family that has even an acre of land.
By the way,
an acre of land is a very big luxury in Kabale. So we are grown up with very little land, very little resources. The only resource, fortunately, in Kabale, for us we had was very good education. Education was very good, and you know our temperatures, the weather is very good for studying, and therefore, Kabale, the resource that I can see is that it provided a very good environment for education and training, and therefore our schools were among the best schools in Uganda at that time, and that's the opportunity that most of us took. And if you look there's a time I looked in the admissions, even of Makerere. For example, 1986 admissions, Kabale brought the greatest number of people in Makerere.
Yes, the high school,
yes, the high school was the best. In 19, you can check people who came to Makerere having done exams. For 1985, Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education, Kigezi High School was the best. And when people continue asking me why is Kabale bringing out people who are hardworking and so on and so forth, because of this terrain, because of that lack of resources, because of the land not being friendly, of course you create a natural competitiveness. But the competitiveness becomes instinctive and you have to wade through.
Sure.
And then, of course, the other major attribute is the East African Revival. For us, we are children with the East African Revival movement. We are children with the Barokole movement. So we knew from formative years what good is, what morality is, how a good person is important, what is it that you will gain from respect of people and elders, what is it that you're going to benefit from hard work. And for example, for us, when we hear about corruption, we feel a cultural shock. These are things we don't know. These are things we didn't grow with. So some of us are shocked to the marrow. really shocked to the marrow. Because when we hear what goes on, for example, in Uganda now, majority of us, you ask, a person like Professor Kagonyera, a person like Professor Suruma, we are shocked to the marrow because they will tell you, all of them, these are things that are alien to us.
True. So, Professor, while growing up as a young little boy, how was life at home? How are the standards at home?
For me, as a home, it's not a very good representation.
Yes.
Because I grew up as an orphan.
Oh, sorry.
So it wouldn't be a very good representation of families. I grew up as an orphan. My mother died when I was the age of 14, in senior 2. My father had died, I didn't see him. Sorry. And so it wouldn't be a very good representation, but I thank God that out of that, I was able to beat all odds. And with God and with the church, especially with the church, because my mother was among people who were, my mother was a very interesting person because she was poor. Poverty in its own, in its real meaning. No resource, no income, no property at home, but contented. Very, very contented woman. And that's the one. You see her?
Oh, wow.
And because of that, for us, we grew up in the church. And she had capacity, very, very rare capacity, which I don't see in many people. You are not lacking anything. You don't have anything, but you are not lacking anything. And the reason was she knew how to, first of all, relate with the people who had good, what can I say? People who really matter, both in terms of relationships, but also in terms of knowing what to do. In that sense, she was able to educate all her children. She was able to bring us to closer to God. She had a Chumurzo. Chumurzo is the current daily guide. For us in Kabale, we call it Chumurzo. I learned it a long time ago from my mother. This book is written by Mr. Zabron Kabaz. I think he's now coming to almost 110 years old. Mr. Zabron is still alive. Kabaza of Namirembe Fellowship. My mother, for me, that's why I learned the daily guide. So we read the Bible every morning. You see, and from that time, well, it's not being proud, but I highly doubt whether there are very many people that know the Bible more than me, even those who have studied theology. Because for us, we really studied the Bible at home. It is not pride, it is not what, but for me, I really thank God that we were able to study the Bible deeply.
That was
very, very deeply.
Yes.
And because of that, we were able to be contented with the little you have. You were able to have morals at a very, very nascent years, in very, very formative years. You are able to relate with the people. Bishop Chibenjeri Festo, for example, used to come at home, and you are able to see a bishop at home. Wow! Imagine a bishop coming at home, and there is a fellowship at home. And my mother was able to. My mother was among the people who developed even the provincial, what we call the provincial anthem of the Church of Uganda. My mother, there is Esther Bitarabeho, there is Evelyn Kasaza, the mother to Sifas Birungi. You know Sifas Birungi? Of Birungi and the Barata advocates. Those were the ladies really whom you would see, and they are models. You want to be like them. Then we had the other models of like Reverend Grace Nyabaika. These were our teachers in senior 2, in primary, Mrs. Grace Turiaji. And so for us, we grew up with models. So when I see people here pretending this one is what, this one is, for us, we lived with God's people. We smelled to God's people. We saw how God's people walk. We know how good people work. We know how good God's people live. How a neighbor that is a God's person lives. So there is nothing that for us you can tell us. And this has been a very good blessing. We thank God for that. We had overdose. Actually, for us, our area had overdose. And I don't think that there are very many communities in Uganda who had that kind of privilege. So we don't take it for granted. It just humbles us
Of course,
to have been able to grow up with such a people. And this, I think, is the reason that we are what we are. Some of us, many people think a professor is a very big man. He should be moving with the, I don't know, security.
Bodyguard. I was surprised when I met you. You didn't have any bodyguard.
Guns, the security personnel. For what? For what? I work with very serious places. I currently work with African Development Bank. I'm a consultant with African Development Bank. And I go there, work. I move in all countries. I don't know which country I have not been in. And all these, you thank God for those privileges.
Yes. So, Professor, growing up as an orphan, how are you able to access education? How are you able to grow up amidst those hardships?
Thank you. It was not easy because you are an orphan.
Yes.
Growing up is not easy.
Yeah, you're right.
It was not. But fortunately, as I told you, we were in the church. And also I had my brothers and sisters. By the way, I'm the second baby. We are 7, and I'm the second baby. Last baby, because I'm the 6th.
Oh, you had your older
So I had the advantage of having both elder sisters and brothers who fortunately got married very well, and they were able to support us.
Wow.
That's a very big advantage.
Yeah, you had that.
In fact, that is what also I tell. I'm also in counseling. I'm a marriage counselor. I'm a family ministry person. I write a lot on family enterprise development, on building families, and I'm a pioneer of marriage fellowship, the marriage fellowship in St. Francis, and we started in 1997, Kaim in 1997, fellowship. We are now, I think we are now how many years? We are coming towards 30 years. And in fact on Sunday, first Sunday of July, that fellowship is coming at home.
Wow.
I'm also a member of these elders fellowship with the Professor Suruma. I was even a preacher. They are Professor Suruma's home. The other, I think,
you can preach.
Friday, yes, Friday.
That's good.
So this has given us that opportunity to be able to be with the people, and even when the growing was hard, but losing parents did not mean that you have lost people.
Yeah, of course.
God gave us now other parents who were the church. So for me, I really grew up in the church. I grew up with people like Reverend James Katarikau. These were people who African Evangelistic Enterprise. I already told you, Bishop First Evangeli. These are in the people in our village. So we do not lack much. Of course, you lack emotional support. You lack the fatherly support and authority, but the church provided and fitted in that place, and we were able to do that. And at this age, therefore, stage, you thank the brothers and sisters who are able to provide now material support. That one, it's for sure. Because my elder sister, for example, these were the first girls also went to Gayaza.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Those days.
I remember
there were
my
a few
sister,
families making it together.
my sister, Lydia, she's called Lydia, and Hope Chivengele's daughter were the first girls you would hear in Kigezo went to Gayaza. And it would be news. You know, when we were taking them, they used to move with what you call the word bus warrant. You know, there used to be something like bus warrant. Bus warrant was like a treasury bureau coupon of this Bank of Uganda. It was a coupon, just like this treasury bureau coupon and the treasury bond, which would provide students, and this would help students to pay, maybe if they like now, if the fee is first possibly 50,000, you'll find them paying like 5,000 or 10,000.
Wow.
And this helped now the children. That was the government then at that time. So it would help the children to study. And this, when I would hear the bus warrant, they were citizens from Gayaza, and you could, when she went to Makerere, she was in Mary Stewart Hall, and she would come with a t-shirt of Mary Stewart Hall, and they used to give them milk in the Ovaltine,
yes,
in the Ruchega, which we call the Ovaltine. It was Ovaltine milk. So to hear the word also, tinned milk, tinned beef. This is the thing which made some of us study.
True.
By the way, some of us even to become a professor, it is not, don't think that it's something that I put a lot of effort on and I'm thinking about it a lot. It is something which in many cases in some of us we are just instinctive.
True.
Because we are following a model. I was seeing my sister, very beautiful. Imagine your sister, you looking at your sister as very, very beautiful. I know. She was very, very, very beautiful. Even now, I even visited her yesterday, we have the same birthday. Can you imagine? Hey. We have the same birthday, we just cut the cake yesterday. He was at her home here. We cut the cake. So for us, I'm telling you, and I'm telling people, we grew up in really homes which you would want children to grow.
Yeah,
in those homes and those neighborhoods and with those relationships and with those, what can I say, with that community. A community which was responsible for, it was holistically responsible for the growing of children. True. But so when you look at the communities now, they are responsible for what?
You're right.
For the child, children are individuals, they grow up as individuals, the community is not purposed to make sure that the children come up, the child comes up in the way he wants or she wants. You look at society's responsibility and you say, what is this?
You cry. So Professor, before I wind up that question of your background, as a young little boy, what are some of those things you can never forget that you encountered in life, in your childhood while growing up, that maybe they were not pleasing, maybe they were not really good, but they pushed you to some place?
Of course, the loss of parents was something that you can't get out easily. And losing a parent at that formative age, that means you have lost the luxury of that parentage, that parental authority, parental emotional support. That was a very big loss, especially from the mother.
You're right.
And I was in S2. Can you imagine?
Because you're
then
still
you have to wade through all those were with those. I remember I think I was a boarder in the secondary school towards S4. Because how do you become a boarder? You must make sure there is food at home. You remember my sister, we told you were old. They were old sisters, they were already married. So you are at home, you must provide the food. When the term ends, you have food. So you cannot have a luxury of being what? In the secondary school and you're a boarder.
It was hard.
And when I see now my children in Bodo in Gayaza that I have to visit them almost every week, I just these ones now.
Last time you were rushing to take your daughter to school.
Even on Sunday we are going to Billy Budu. No, Gayaza we are working on their residences, refurbishing them, and you can imagine for us we would spend the whole time. Nobody has even written it to you.
Right.
Nobody had decided.
So wow. So I thank God for your siblings who took care of you. Are they still alive?
We are all there by God's grace.
And how old are you now, Professor, by the way?
Me?
You don't you're just there, the size is the same.
No, just I'm coming with 60.
Wow!
Yeah, I'm coming with 60.
But you don't look that age.
That's because why should I be stressed? Those who are stressed in corruption and they are worried of somebody going to arrest them, those are the ones who...
Did you dig at one point?
Hey, for us it is a cultivation. Yeah? Because it is, we stay in the valley, then cultivate in the hills.
So you could dig, Professor? Yes. You know how to dig?
Very much.
Oh, that's
sorghum,
amazing.
For us we cultivate sorghum and potatoes. And for me, I used to grow them in very large scale. You know why? Because of the now need for money.
Yeah,
this thing with the president is talking about now. May I practice it, I don't know, 30 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah, 30 years ago. Because I remember I would supply even potatoes to school. To schools, cabbages, potatoes. I'm a very good grower of tomatoes. Even now I grow tomatoes, even now. In Entebbe. Here we have land in Entebbe.
Well done, Professor. So away from that, Professor, how have you been able to merge out and become the man we celebrate today, a professor, a great economist that has moved all over the world? I've seen you in very big gatherings across the world. How have you been able to merge out? Because there are many professors today, but how have you been able to be singled out of the many and you defy the odds and you raise the bar to that level?
I think the major, the major thing is discipline. You know, discipline.
Yes, I
is very important because there are many people who are very, very educated, very, very knowledgeable, but they lack discipline. And in that case, they lose out.
True.
So first of all, you need discipline. And discipline, what does this discipline means? You are going to work and produce quality work and make sure that you put in the whole of you. It is your whole, and that's how disciplined people behave. If you hear a country is disciplined, you hear this family has disciplined people. A girl is disciplined. That means that girl knows what she wants.
True.
So you really know what you want. And what is it? Is that you have to be educated first and foremost. That's the bottom line. What does getting educated means? You gather information, then you go to take it to another level. You explain it in 4 levels. You go to the second level, where you are knowledgeable now. You now generate knowledge. Knowledge means coordinated information, you have knowledge. Then number 3, you develop what? You develop skills, and these skills, by the way, I've invested in them a lot. Skills of writing.
Yes.
I'm a New Vision columnist. I write every Sunday, every weekend. It's now weekend vision. So can you imagine such a discipline?
True.
Can you imagine such a discipline?
It's a culture.
You must write. Even now, the one of Sunday, I've already finished and submitted it. Discipline. Now, if you were in Waraj drinking Waraj the whole weekend, and you are in bars and women, and you went home at 5 o'clock, how are you going to so the first things that New Vision, please, Felix Osike is our deputy managing director and is my boss there. Barbara Keija, MD. I was not able to write the article because of this and this, and start telling them stories. They don't want stories.
Yeah, they
want the article, which we agreed that we write it every week. True. And so you have to develop that, and then have those skills, and then you develop what we call a strategic fit. So strategic fit means you develop yourself, develop your capacity, develop your skill, develop your capability to a level where people feel you. When you sneeze, everybody catches what? A cold. But if you sneeze, nobody catches a cold. You have a house girl at home, she's not there. You need to know the importance of your housemaid when she's not there. You don't realize her importance when she's still there. That's why I tell my wife, please talk to these maids very well. Because when they are not here, I'm not going to go to office. I'm not going to go to office. Fortunately, now they all have friends. She even buys clothes for them, and because she knows
their value.
Their value, especially when they are not. That is strategic what? Fit. And then the last one, if God allows you, this is the rarest. It's very, very rare. Is the one we call blue ocean.
Yes.
Blue ocean strategy.
I've heard you talk about that thing.
Yeah, I'm developing it with the Professor Dynamite from South Africa, and we are going to New York to present it. Strategic,
blue ocean strategy.
Blue ocean strategy is very interesting. Can you imagine? You are not in a meeting. The meeting is in Geneva. They are trying to find out in Abidjan, in the African Development Bank. Like now, I'm helping these African governments, most of them, to build their central bank operations. But can you imagine? People are in a meeting and they say the person who's going to do this thing is this one. In Uganda, then I would want to be in a conference and I would ask people to put up their hand in Uganda where such a thing can happen. With this high level of corruption, the very high level of blue ocean strategy it works. Can you imagine? Works beyond corruption. Wow. Those who like witchcraft works above witchcraft.
It's a good
above competition. Concept. It's a very wonderful concept.
Very good.
For it doesn't wade through competition. Do you know where that concept comes from? It's around here. It's around. I'm developing the concept I'm told you with Professor Dynamite Munkumba around the Kazinga Channel. When you come from Bushenyi through Chamuhunga tea factory, leave the escarpment, and that's the Buheju district, or it is a district, whatever. Go on the base of the Kuniza Base National Park, that's the Rift Valley. Now, when you are in the base about to now join Kasese, with the boundary of Bugera, Bugera sub-county, which has Mponwe border. Ugandan border with the Kasese is there. It's called Mponwe. But before you reach Mponwe, you will of course see Lake George and Lake Edward. Now the water in Lake Edward is blue, pure blue, royal blue. The water in George is brown, and yet is the same. They are divided by Kazinga Channel. That water which divided now joins the two lakes. Now, by my niece, nephew, died there. Crocodile ate him. about 2 years ago.
So, hey,
Yes,
so serious. Sorry.
my nephew. The reason was, people normally think that the other water which is royal brand is calm. There are no crocodiles.